Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Caregiving Gen X Style. I am Steve Mullen.
And I'm Jennifer Mullen.
The holidays are tough for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. For caregivers and care recipients, they can be especially difficult. In this episode, we'll talk with a therapist who will have some tips to help us get through it. But first, Jennifer, how's your mom?
Goggy's doing well.
Good.
We're a couple months post. Is it a couple months post hospital stay? Yeah, a couple months post hospital stay. I would say the biggest thing on our list these days is the medication management, which my brother and I have been, handling that obviously in conjunction with her primary healthcare worker. But man, we have been back and forth and up and down, and she's been gaining weight and losing weight and trying to get a fluid pill straight. And so I type up a sheet of her medications that we keep on the counter. Which
I have to print out seemingly every 3 days when something changes.
This is my point. It's like, on the one hand, I love that her primary healthcare worker is, keeping a good eye on her, and the cardiologist is keeping a good eye on her, all these things, like it's all good. But oh my goodness, yes, it is like a constant change. And in fact, I drove by and stopped by this morning on my way into the office. I told my brother not to come over because he's a little further away. And of course, the weather was terrible, but I was going out anyway. Stopped to do a bunch of things.
Just stopping for 1 second. Actually, it's only really our small part of the world, or at least the part of the country. We just got a bunch of snow yesterday.
For us. Yes, for us.
And it's just in our state. And yes. I mean, yes, up north in the northern states where they get a lot of snow, there's snow up there. But we just got snow.
So driving by, stopping to do a few things, and I texted all the, and it's awesome. We have a string with me, my brother, my mom, and her healthcare worker, her primary. Texted, here are all her vitals. Here's her weight. Here's her blood pressure, her blood sugar, all those things, and her weight has steadily been going up. Well, of course, I didn't get a response back from her until after I had gotten to the office, and she said, "Okay, let's make this change to the fluid pill." And so then, stopped by mom's on the way back home from the office just to get that straightened out. And of course, every time you do that, like, it always makes me nervous, right? Pulling some pills out and putting other pills back in and cutting pills in half. And we have the pills that go, through the week. And then sometimes you got to remember that if you're going to count things out moving forward, don't forget to go back so that when she cycles back around to the next week, you've got the pills all straightened out. It's a lot.
Yes. I am very, very, very thankful that with my mother in assisted living, I don't have to deal with that. I did it for a very small window.
It's stressful.
I don't want to do it.
It's actually really stressful. And mom has said to my brother and I a couple of times, I can take care of the pills. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, Mom, I'm stressed out. I'm 30 years younger than you are. I have my faculties about me just a teeny tiny bit more, and it still stresses me out. And I remember texting a picture once. I have a good friend and coworker. Now she's a former coworker because she retired, and I'm very sad. But in part, she retired because she was able to, and her dad is aging, and he lives in an assisted living facility a few hours away. And, we talk a lot about it, and she listens to this podcast too, so she'll know I'm talking about her. But I remember texting her a picture once saying, "Oh my God, like, this is really stressing me out." And the next time I saw her, she was like, "Yeah, that would like freak me out to have to do that." And she said the same thing. Like, she's very fortunate that her dad is in a community. We learn not to say facility.
You don't say facility now.
Community, in a community that takes care of all that.
But I'll tell you, even, medication management, when you're in a community, you still have to pay attention. Keep an eye on things.
Yeah, I know.
The one that she's in now, they seem to have a handle on everything, and there has not been problems. However, the previous one, you had to watch them like a hawk.
Yeah. So our daughter, the nurse, was not real happy with something that she saw the last time we were there, though.
Oh, yes. So they trust my mother to take her pills. They know she is, I'd say she's probably 85 to 90% of what she was 30 years ago. Yeah, she's really with it. They do trust her to take her pills.
85 to 90 of 30 years ago? All right, that's maybe a little not quite generous, but go ahead.
All right, whatever. She's pretty with it.
Yes.
They will leave her pills in her apartment if she's outside the apartment, they will leave her pills so she can take them when she comes back. They don't do that for everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's technically not
But when we walked back in and Hannah saw the pills just sitting out, she was like, "What is this? I can't believe they're doing that."
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. But they trust her.
All right. Well, so good transition, Steve. How's your mom?
She is doing fine. I took her Christmas stuff over today. We decorated for Christmas.
Nice.
And but what I wanted to talk about was, I'm sure, I don't know if I mentioned this at some point or another, over the summer a couple of times we had a couple of nasty downpours in my mother's apartment. Some water got in. And it was kind of a problem this summer. And she complained and she complained. She kept saying that there was mold growing. I don't think there was mold growing. And she kept saying she was having trouble breathing because of it. I really don't think so. But she complained enough where they went ahead and replaced the flooring in her apartment. So what they're doing now, they just renovated the entire building.
I was going to say they were renovating the whole building anyway.
And this is something they will be doing whenever an apartment opens up. They're going to do this.
Yeah.
They're going to put in the living room, like not hardwood, but what do you call it? Like
it's the laminate
flooring.
Yeah.
It's like,
it looks nice.
Looks like wood.
Yeah.
Sort of. And then, carpeting in the bedroom. So they went ahead and did that new carpeting, and then they put the laminate down. So this disrupted her life quite a bit. Obviously, what this meant was, once again, the teapots had to be moved.
I just can't even believe it.
I had to take every teapot off that big hutch, which, by the way, if you go on our Facebook page, you will see a picture pinned at the top of that hutch with all the teapots on it.
You know what the positive of this teapot move was?
What was that?
What was the best thing about this teapot move?
That I didn't have to put them back on?
That I didn't have to do it.
Oh, that you didn't have to.
That I didn't have to do it, because I've done it more than once.
I unloaded every single one of them. We put them in her kitchen cabinets, which she doesn't really use much.
Yeah.
And had to, of course, just move a whole bunch of things. It was almost like she was moving.
Yeah.
I mean, she was joking that we were going to have a garage sale next. But
which, by the way, could probably use.
Yeah,
she
probably.
still collects stuff.
But the good news for me, though, is that my brother did come down over the weekend and put them back. And I gave him a picture of the way Jennifer did it.
Yes.
And said, I urge you to put them back in this pattern as much as physically possible, because Jennifer put a lot of work into it.
I put a lot of thought into how, and your mom has loved it.
Yes, and our mother
it's
loves
like
it so much. And he sent a
It
picture
looks
back
beautiful.
of it done, and you took a look, and it was fully approved.
I gave him the seal of approval.
Fully
He
approved.
probably didn't care that he got my seal of approval, but I gave it to him anyway.
Probably not. All right, so let's get into our episode. So the holidays. We're getting close to the holidays, and they can lead to a lot of us feeling blue or sometimes outright depressed. There are a lot of reasons for it, and in this episode, we'll be talking with a therapist to dig into this important issue. Our guest for this episode is Emily West.
Emily is a therapist who provides in-person and virtual therapy sessions for a Seattle, Washington-based group called Self Space. Emily, welcome to Caregiving Gen X Style.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here. And of course, the first question that we always ask our guests is, how are your parents?
Yeah, well, both of my parents have passed. My mom 10 years ago at age 88, and my dad 7 years ago at age 91. And my siblings and I were all really involved in their care as they aged and declined and during their end of life care. So the subject of your podcast is a really, really dear one to me. And so I'm really happy to be here to talk about this.
Well, tell us about yourself and the group you work for, Self Space. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, I'm a Gen Xer. I'll just put that out there.
Hooray!
So right there with us. Yep.
In good company. Just turned 58. And I went back to school to become a therapist. So this is my second career. I've been doing it for about 8 or 9 years now. I'll have to look back. My life experiences, including the caregiving and grief and loss, and my own aging process, all contribute to my work with clients. So I recommend to anybody out there who's thinking about going back to school, it can be worth it and it's not too late. So I see individuals across the lifespan. I just really like different life stages and supporting people as they transition through them. So I see kiddos all the way up through elders for individual therapy, both, as you said, in person and virtually. And I work at a group practice, as you mentioned, Self Space. And there are about 35 of us. We have 2 offices, one in downtown Seattle and one in Kirkland, Washington. And we see a range of clients and do all kinds of work, individual, couples, families. But I particularly like supporting folks just all across the life journey. So I like a lot of diversity in my caseload.
Okay. Well, I love that life journey. That's a great way to put it. And before I get to our first question for you, I just want to touch on something you said, because that really just clicked with me. And that was, as you're thinking about going through your own aging process. And that is really interesting to me, and something I might like for us to explore at some point in the future on another episode, because that is a really interesting thing to be going through the aging process, right? Steve and I are in our 50s and, starting to experience our own, whatever those issues might be, aches, pains, nothing serious, thankfully. But,
I can pull my back by sleeping wrong.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Listen.
Oh, for sure.
Getting out of bed easily.
I literally rounded the corner to go down another aisle. I wasn't even picking up anything heavy. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, my back is killing me. And,
yeah.
for 24 hours it was hurting.
You cough the wrong way, you could pull a back muscle.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, like I do it to me, there's something, I'm probably not going to articulate this very well, but there is definitely something going on in my brain related to my own personal aging process, and then observing my mom and the things that are happening. And of course, it's motivating me to do some things for myself, which are probably a good thing in my early 50s, right? Making sure, I've always been a healthy eater and have always exercised.
Much healthier than I am.
Yes. Exercise pretty regularly. But like, I have those thoughts going through my head too, because I look at my mom and limited mobility and thinking, I don't want to get to that point if I can help it, or for as long as I can help it. So I got to make sure I'm doing my own stuff.
I will say this, and this is a piece of advice not only for you, Jennifer, but for everyone who's listening. If you want to feel less old, start hanging out at assisted living facilities.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's true.
Assisted living communities.
That's true.
And I go over there 2-3 times a week, and I walk out feeling like a kid.
Yeah.
Because I get treated like one a lot of the time, and I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
I am okay with this.
It's all relative.
Oh my goodness. No, I think that's so true. I think I was just talking to a client today about how caregiving has her thinking increasingly about her own aging process and her future, like what she wants it to look like and what she would like her care to look like and feel like. And I think it can open up all kinds of existential questions as well for us. But yeah, it really brings it home as we are going through changes and witnessing the changes of our elders, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're part of the, if you're a Gen Xer who is also sandwich generation, because not every Gen Xer has kids, we do, but that's exactly right. Thinking about, I certainly have these moments where I'm like, oh, I don't want to leave Hannah and Jackson in this particular situation, having to worry about, X, Y, or Z. So it definitely, you're right, existential questions all day long, which I guess happens in your 50s no matter what, but for sure. All right. Well, getting into, a little more specifically into our topic for this episode, depression can be a problem for a lot of people around the holidays, but it seems like caregivers and also care recipients can be particularly susceptible to it. Generally speaking, why do you think that is?
Well, I think starting with caregivers, for one thing, you both touched on some contributing factors in an episode I really enjoyed, caregiver loneliness. And so loneliness and isolation are really big factors in depression, typically, as well as I think what happens for caregivers often, there can be an experience of holding so many complicated feelings during the experience of caregiving. There's so much to do. So you have to stay really functional as a caregiver. And you're putting your loved one really at the center of your attention often, right? Because you're a caregiver. So your own emotional responses to what's happening are often put like sort of in a little compartment, or certainly not expressed, I think, because there can be a lot of, again, complicated feelings of guilt or frustration, impatience, resentment. All of that can come up, and then there's the guilt about having those feelings, and the self-criticism about that. So all of that turns really inward sometimes, and that's a pretty common characteristic of depression. Is that the person who's depressed really has very few, if any, ways of connecting with anyone or anything outside of themselves. So there's just like a lot going on internally, and not really any way to share it. So loneliness and isolation for caregivers, for sure. I think during the holidays, right, a lot of people experience, as Steve was saying, blue feelings or even downright depression, because there's a lot of pressure to be jubilant, merry, celebratory. And then I think for caregivers, it's compounded because there's already so much responsibility and so much to take care of. And you may be also finding it really difficult to access energy or hopefulness about the holidays, or you may be witnessing your elders' changes, and they might be really hard. This might be a really hard season for all of you, and an added pressure to be sort of like merry on top of that, I think, can be really, really difficult. Yeah, those are just some of the ideas. I really want to make room for you too, because I love the conversational aspect of this.
Well, I mean, one thing I was going to say, Emily, and this is really hard to talk about. It's really hard to talk about, but when you sort of have that realization, so Steve and I mean, our mothers are 85. We have 50 some odd Christmases, Thanksgivings, whatever it is that we've had with them. They've had 85 of them. And you cannot help, at least I can't help but think about the fact that they sure as heck don't have 85 Christmases or Thanksgivings in front of them, right? Like, you start to think through, I mean, I hate to say it, it just sounds morbid, like, how many more holidays do we have? And it sucks to feel that way. Like, that can, I think, contribute a little bit to just feeling, it's like the weird, to your point of like, you want to be festive and jubilant and, all of those things, but also in the back of your mind, I feel like that's nagging back there too. Sure.
Oh, it's so threaded with loss, because as a caregiver, you're really, you're so in the midst of life changes. Like, we're all changing all the time, and there's everybody's going through transitions all the time. That's the nature of life. But when you're caregiving for an elder loved one, I think the experience of it is so kind of keenly felt, like really deeply felt, because there is that sense of loss of maybe the way holidays used to feel together. Or, there's a lot of memory. I think that holidays can be kind of melancholy times in certain ways. There's a lot of nostalgia, and maybe you're even witnessing your elder loved one not responding in the same way to things that they've always enjoyed during the holidays. That's just one example. But I think, to your point, Jennifer, too, you're really witnessing, I don't know, the briefness of life, the preciousness of it, and and really feeling that that there aren't that many years to come. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, one of the hardest sort of transitions for me in terms of holiday traditions is, my mom and I, for years, so I always host Thanksgiving here at our home, and for years, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, my mom and I were in the kitchen doing all the prepping, the chopping of the carrots and the celery and the onions for the stuffing, and, just everything. And also my mom was the one who always, until Steve came along, but, pulling the guts out of the turkey, because I don't do that.
And actually pulling the meat off the turkey when it's
done. No, I don't do that.
I'm really, I get all the meat off, but it's not the prettiest thing in the world.
Well, it tastes good by then, and I have not had to touch it, so that's good. But we digress. But, my mom and I have, done that together for years, and it's now been a handful of years that we've not done that. She, we sort of reserve her energy for the day of. And I'm fortunate. One of our two children likes to cook, and that's our son. So he and I now are sort of, we've transitioned the tradition to the two of us being in the kitchen the day before, and I do love that.
And by the way, I was dubbed sous chef this year,
Yeah,
and then
you
I
failed.
was fired.
You failed within like 2
I was
minutes.
fired from that job very quickly.
Yeah.
It's because I'm
here.
a sous chef with his own opinions of how things should be done, and those did not go over well with the chef.
But you don't really cook, so you don't get
No, I
opinions.
don't.
You just have to do what I tell you to do.
Exactly. That's the problem.
No.
I don't really take
That did
orders
not work.
very well.
That did not work. Our son, on the other hand, I
He
say,
takes
Jackson,
orders pretty
do
well.
this. He knows what to do. But
Nice.
seriously, Emily, like, that's like, that was an interesting transition for me. And the first year I remember just being really, really, really sad. Because I very much had the recognition then of like, yep, I think maybe no more, is my mom going to be able to do like 2 days in a row of all the stuff. And so now it's just the one day, and, now we're kind of settled into the new norm and it's okay. But those kinds of things are tough when those traditions change, I think.
They are. Yeah. Yeah. And you're helping me realize I forgot to mention my in-laws. My in-laws are both living in assisted care communities. And so I am alongside my husband and his sister. They are the primary people involved with the care, but I'm there for moral support and other things. And I noticed that I'm anticipating that for this holiday season for us. Like how will we celebrate Christmas? So how might that day look different? Because I noticed that, the stamina of my in-laws is quite changed, right? Or the interest in watching a movie that we all used to love to watch together is just no longer there. And it's a big adjustment for everybody. So yeah, I hear you. Those traditions and then the adjustment. And that's an experience of loss that a caregiver is then just kind of needing to take in and continue carrying on with making the stuffing and making, serving the dinner, et cetera. So you're operating on a lot of different levels as a caregiver. And I think it can contribute a lot to a sense of, well, you two know, I don't need to tell you, but for those listening who might not know, that there's so much exhaustion that can occur on both I think it's like really it's not only physical, it's emotional and kind of spiritual. You're just operating on so many levels, and you're adjusting all the time to changes that are really hard sometimes.
And I think I'm sitting here listening, and I'm thinking, and you're the therapist, stop me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of this depression is worry that it might be the last time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the reason I say might that way is, I mean, we've mentioned on this show before, my father died in 2001 of brain cancer. He died in January 7th, 2001 of brain cancer. And he was a big fan of the holidays. He was a big fan of big family gatherings. He wanted everybody there. And we knew he didn't have a lot of time left.
And taking the picture to prove it, by the way.
And taking the picture.
Cecil
Oh, my
B.
God.
DeMille.
He always had to pull out that damn camera.
Yep.
Nobody wanted the picture, but I'm glad we have them.
Yeah.
But we knew he didn't have a lot of time left when it came to Christmas. And, we came over. We didn't have kids at that point, but we came over. My brother came over with, at the time, his 2 girls. He's now got 3. But we were all at my mother's and father's house. And we knew that was the last Christmas for him. Mm. And I don't think there was a lot of stress about it because it wasn't a might.
Yeah.
It was, we knew we're just going to enjoy it for what it is. And, and I'm pretty sure my father stuck around long enough to have another Christmas and maybe a New Year's, and then that was it.
Yep.
Do you think that's the case? It's that might that you worry about so much?
Well, I love that point. It's really such a good point you make, because I think the way you describe that holiday is that it sounds like you were all really present.
Yes.
And I do think there is something to be said for, I mean, human beings, we have difficulty being present, but when we are, we tend to feel better, I think, usually. And there is something about that might, because then it's sort of like maybe it's a bit of a kind of dread that's out there, or an uncertainty that's, kind of humming in the background, that's sort of distracting and, maybe contributing in some way to depression. I could see that.
I can be deep when I want to. I really can. So what are some basic things you recommend to caregivers, us?
Yeah.
If we're dealing with this kind of depression or blues or whatever we want to call it this time of year?
Yeah. Well, one thing that in my work with people I have found to be incredibly important and meaningful is some self-compassion. It doesn't come easily to a lot of humans for whatever reason. We can often have more compassion for others than we have for ourselves. And I think caregivers particularly can tend to be self-critical and always
yes.
Right. Always think of the thing they forgot to do, or, oh, I shouldn't have said it that way, to mom or dad, or, why am I losing my patience? That's terrible. That kind of thing. Why didn't I get that list of tasks done today? Et cetera. So I think for caregivers particularly, self-compassion can be a really powerful exercise and a meaningful way to lighten depression. One of the ways that it works, it is there's a whole organized approach to therapy that's called mindful self-compassion that I'm fond of, but it can also just be really simple in that we try to practice sort of turning towards ourselves and talking to ourselves like we would a friend who came to us and said, I'm really overwhelmed. I'm feeling really burnout, because I think burnout for caregivers is high, and that can definitely contribute to depression, burnout. But like if a friend came to us and said that, I'm really struggling, we would probably be able to say, hey, you're not alone in this, and you're doing such an incredible job caregiving. It's so hard, and you have all these other things in your life that you're taking care of, and just show us a little kindness. So that's one thing. There are some self-compassion exercises online that are great. They're just really simple.
So people could Google that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you both, in your episode about self-care, that was another good one. I really appreciated
Jennifer's
that
favorite.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I could see why. I mean, it's a really important subject for caregivers. It's, it's so hard to think that taking care of ourselves matters, or it's actually really even hard to just think there's any time in the day to take care of ourselves. But it is really, really important, and it can really help with depression. And among the things that you both mentioned, like stepping outside, like I was going to say nature, connecting with nature can be really powerful, but it doesn't have to be going out far.
Just get out and touch some grass.
Backyard.
Yes.
Grounding.
Grounding. Oh, here we go.
It's a whole practice I've learned about recently, and I love it.
Jennifer's walking around the backyard in her bare feet.
Steve is like, the neighbors are going to think you're crazy.
Yeah. I love it.
I find it odd.
Yep. No, that's terrific.
It's I get up later than she does. I look out the back window of our house, and she's out there with no shoes on, wandering around the backyard. Thank goodness we don't have a dog.
It's fantastic.
Because, God knows what she'd step in.
I would like to note for the record, one of our neighbors said to me one day, because I had posted something on Facebook about how much I like grounding, and he's like, I'm right there with you. He's like, sometimes I'll just lay down on the ground and put my feet up on the tree. He's like, I totally get it. It's not just me. Yeah. It's not just me.
I find it odd.
All right. Sorry, Emily.
I
go
like
ahead.
to mock her for it,
yes.
in fact.
Get outside. We digress.
Touch some grass.
Get outside. And also with, what we were saying a little bit ago is like the loneliness and isolation that can so often be a part of caregiving, and depression leads, means rather that connecting with other people is just really crucial in some way. Like I think when I was, my siblings and I were involved with caring for our parents, we were so lucky to have each other. I just to this day, I mean, we all express so much gratitude to each other for that, because you just need to be able to express some of those feelings. Because I think that's a huge part of the caregiver depression, as I said, is just kind of not feeling like it's okay to have a bad day, or, to feel down about it. And so if there's somebody you can connect with, that's wonderful. Like my friends too were just invaluable to me. Similar to what the two of you were sharing, I think in the loneliness episode, when my parents were going through their process, like starting to have, some decline and then various challenges, my friends' parents weren't quite there yet. In most cases. And so there was a lot of loneliness there too. And I just think if I'd had a podcast like this one, really seriously, it would have helped. I did go to the library a lot and read books and just try to talk to people. If you can just connect with people in some way, even if it's not around the caregiving, it doesn't have to be like telling somebody all your deepest feelings. It can just be the beauty of like an exchange between you and a neighbor, or you and somebody else at the store or something. Connection is really important for depression.
Yeah. And, to your point about, the whole reason we started this podcast is, besides the fact that we might have had a few drinks at the sports bar after leaving a skilled nursing facility and deciding that we should write a book, and then it turned into a podcast. Right. But aside from that, Steve and I, and it's interesting that it's Steve and I together, because we both ended up in these situations with our moms, different reasons, same ages, they're the same age, but different reasons. Both of us having a significant amount of, responsibility for caregiving, and none of our friends are in that situation. None of our friends are in that situation. Well,
not entirely, but not in the same way, but some are. Yeah. It sort of. Yes.
Sort of.
Yes.
Yeah, but
it's not quite the same way.
It is not quite the same way. And we have certainly, Steve and I have had conversations before where we've sort of said, like, our friends probably think we're like obsessive about this. And we were probably the friends who were obsessive during COVID. Like Steve and I definitely, like, we hunkered down and really stayed away even longer from our friends a lot of times, because our constant concern was, the add-on for the two of us that was not a situation for any of our friends, because none of their parents live close by, were, yes, but then we have to deliver groceries to our 85. Right. Well, they weren't 85, they were 80 at the time. We have to take groceries to them. We have to get them to the doctor. We have to do this. We have to do that. Like, so it was that was a time that I felt was really challenging, because I think our friends couldn't, it's not that they didn't want to, it's not that at all, but maybe couldn't fully understand all of the pressure that we had on us at that moment.
Yeah.
And that does feel, again, Steve and I are lucky that we were both in the same situation, and we both had the same philosophy of like, yep, we just gotta like keep to ourselves. But it did kind of suck, and it did feel kind of lonely, and it did kind of feel sometimes like, are we overreacting? Are we being ridiculous about this? And feeling like, wondering if our friends thought we were being ridiculous about it, but we did what we had to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about care recipients. What sorts of things can lead to their depression? Because that's a problem for them too.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I think we're doing an important job of differentiating between really natural sadness around loss or anticipatory grief, or versus depression. So depression for care recipients, I think it's a tough one. I think it can look a lot of different ways. Sometimes it can show up in ways that we don't recognize as depression, because it can be maybe something like increased irritability. Certainly it can be, I think sometimes the older person who gets kind of cast as the curmudgeon, I think sometimes that person might be depressed.
I'm already like that. I'm 55.
Steve's not depressed, but he is a curmudgeon.
No, I am a curmudgeon. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole range of curmudgeons. Some of them might be depressed. Some of them might not.
Not currently, no.
Not yet. Not currently. But so, yeah, for care recipients, I think, I think about sometimes elders as like having awareness of all that they're going through and all that they've lost in terms of independence, maybe, autonomy, control over their circumstances. And they're people who were like the heads of families and professional people, working people. They, had a lot of responsibilities in life. They accomplished things. And I think that can really contribute to elder depression, is like this sense of, oh, now I don't have much of a voice sometimes. So I think it's interesting, but caregivers and care recipients, right, can be sort of going through this very similar things at the same time, in their own way. And it can be hard to connect with each other around that. But yeah, I think sadness is kind of an obvious sign of depression. And just what the circumstances are where they're living. If it's, how's the care? Do they have a friend? Are there activities that they enjoy anymore?
Yeah, and I'm sure it's really a lot of the same stuff. I mean, with the caregivers, it's is this the last Christmas where they can really enjoy it? And they may be thinking the same thing, particularly like if they like the holidays. Is this the last time I'll be able to do X, Y, or Z? And I don't know if we've talked about it in the show before, but I mean, my mother's issues are primarily physical. She's in a wheelchair. She can't walk. And, at some point or another, she's not going to be able to do the wheelchair around. She may end up bedbound in a nursing home. And I hope to God at that point, she doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know my mother. She still orders me around all the time.
Okay.
Whenever I get there, she has a list of things for me to do.
Same.
It's exactly the same for you. But she is fully in charge of our caregiving relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is going to be a point where, she's just bedbound. And like I said, I hope to God that she doesn't know what's going on at that point, because she will slip into a pretty bad depression, I suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, with the care recipients, what can we do to help?
Yeah, well, I think particularly around the holidays, sometimes it can be, there's so much bustle, there's like a lot to do always for caregivers. There's a lot to do. And the care recipients, I think, can kind of get lost in that a little bit. Even though they're at the center of our concern, sometimes I think people can be sort of rushing around getting things done, and they are necessary things to get done. So not to put any shame on caregivers. But I think sometimes the care recipient can feel a little bit lost in that. And so if there's a way for the caregivers and the care recipients, the elderly loved ones, to kind of connect in some simple way, even just to, I think sometimes just to sit together or to ask, if they're accessing memories, and still communicative with you, maybe asking about a holiday memory that's meaningful to them, either from like your childhood or their own, sort of spending a little time to get to know each other in a new way can alleviate both people's depression, actually. Hopefully both aren't depressed at the same time, but
that's bad. Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly if you're living together 24/7, that's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just kind of like, maybe just keeping things simple and relational can really, really help. Like, I think with depression, it can often be that there's a feeling of not being seen or heard anymore in some fundamental, meaningful way. And so just, kind of sitting together or playing some music that they love around the holidays.
I think no matter what situation they're in, no matter what holiday this time of year you celebrate, you still try to celebrate it. Well, like, for instance, I think I mentioned earlier, today was the day when I helped my mother decorate her apartment for Christmas.
Yeah.
We put up our little tree and we put these ornaments on the tree that there's two groups of ornaments. One box was bought from a department store up in Philadelphia near where my mother grew up that no longer exists. And that was in the 70s. The other couple of boxes were bought when she was a teenager. I think actually maybe even a preteen. So these things are really old. And she's so proud that she still has them. And so that's what goes on our tree. And of course, I broke two of them today. Neither of them were really my fault. One of them I just happened to
slip that in.
I brushed one limb and the damn thing just fell off, and it fell from a height of maybe 8 or 10 inches. That thing shattered.
Yeah.
But the other one, I went to hold it up by the hook, and it just fell off the hook and hit the ground that was about 4 feet off the ground. But anywho. But, she's got those, her tree and her other decorations that she really loves to show off with. And I will say this about my mother. A lot of her thing is to be able to show off her decoration. She loves it. When the CNAs come in and her friends come in and, oh, look at my tree, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But, so I think, no matter what stage they're in, I mean, unless we're talking someone who truly does not know what is going on around them. And even in that case, I think you still celebrate as much as physically possible.
Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah.
I snap pictures of our Christmas tree. So my mom really, again, we're a handful of years past the point where she just drives over here, right? Like she doesn't have a car anymore. She doesn't drive anymore. And those are the things like I try honestly to not let myself think about too much, because it really doesn't feel like that long ago where she could get in the car, drive over.
It wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't
really,
that long ago,
just
right?
a few years ago.
And, she would pop in and see the Christmas tree. We don't host Christmas here. My brother who lives locally, we do Christmas Eve over there, but she would pop in and see our Christmas tree. And of course she can't do that now. So she knew exactly which day we were decorating. It was a
By the way, I recently saw some pictures from the last time she was over here when we decorated the tree.
Yeah.
I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. And we always, one of our traditions for the last, handful of years is we will put on the movie Elf.
Yeah.
While we're decorating.
Oh, yeah.
And she
was like, what the heck is this?
She hated that movie.
She did not.
She did not find it amusing at all.
Not for her generation.
And fell asleep in the middle of it.
She did.
She was so bored.
Yes, she was, yeah.
But yeah, I forgot. We have a picture of her sleeping in the chair in the living room. We did make a point of bringing her over when we were decorating the tree, yes, to do that. But, for the last handful of years, save that year, I text her a picture. She knew exactly what day we were decorating this year. It was a perfect convergence of both the kids were home at the same time, which is unusual these days. And we decorated and, she was texting, have you guys finished it yet? I want to see pictures. And so, that is a way to share, our holiday decorations with her, even when she can't really physically get over here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's you're reminding me too about, I think caregivers' depression sometimes around the holidays, I think can come up around a pressure to produce like a kind of perfect holiday, for everybody. So it could be multiple generations there, but particularly for their elderly loved one. And I think just what you've both just described, it's just, that's the essence of it, is really, I think, just meaningful time together and some sharing of tradition, and whether your loved one sleeps through the movie because she can't stand it or
she really did not like it at all. No,
you're all together. You're together.
Not find it amusing.
Yes.
Yeah, you're together, and that's really the key, I think. So if caregivers can give themselves a little bit of a break, and keep things simple and like not try to create like the perfect holiday, that can help.
And don't beat yourself up.
That's right.
We say that a lot. I mean, just give yourself a little grace.
Oh yeah,
and be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be perfect.
Yep. That's exactly right. I did a pretty good job of that with Thanksgiving, by the way.
You did.
I'm gonna not stretch
Oh,
too
you're gonna
hard
hurt your arm.
Yeah, to pat myself on the back. But actually, like I kind of went the opposite direction a little bit this Thanksgiving. It was less about everything must be perfect and everything must like look a certain way because
And
Emily,
I will say it wasn't too far back where things had to be perfect with you.
Emily, in case you don't know this about me, all of our listeners out there, I'm slightly type A.
Slightly?
What? Shocker.
Slightly?
Yes. But I didn't do that this year. I was pretty...
I'm like type Q.
We had
I don't know what that
coloring
means.
sheets. There was football on. There was basketball on. There were games played. Everybody sort of did what. There was deck sitting, even though it was quite chilly out. Whatever.
Yeah.
It was good. Like we just kind of went with the flow this year.
It's really good.
Yeah. Well, if any of our listeners would like to try therapy as a way to
And
get
we strongly suggest they do.
therapy is a good thing. But if they need help to get them through the holidays, how would you suggest that they go about finding a good therapist?
I do think I will put a little plug in for therapy, just as a place where you, as a caregiver, can go and really express the full range of your feelings and your experiences as a caregiver, and not having to feel like you're burdening anybody, which caregivers often feel they're doing, or that you're going to hurt anybody's feelings or et cetera. So that's one of the purposes of therapy, is that you have a space that's just for you with a person who's there for you and is not involved in your family and is, just there to help you express yourself and process and come to some kind of greater sense of ease, hopefully, and self-compassion. But if somebody wants to find a therapist, I think one of the best ways is still asking, if you're comfortable asking friends and family if they have had a good therapy experience or they know somebody they can refer you to. That is often still the best way to find a good therapist. But I do like Psychology Today's online directory. I think it can be just a really handy place for people to go. You can put in your zip code and what what kind of therapy you might be looking for or what you're wanting to work on, if it's grief, et cetera. And you'll find people in your area. And you can also put in your insurance so that it filters out people who aren't taking your insurance. So those are two ways I would suggest.
Okay. Emily West, therapist with Seattle-based Self Space. Thanks for being with us today. This was fantastic.
Yeah, love
thank
the
you
conversation.
So much. Yeah, it was lovely to meet you both. Thanks so much.
You too.
And thanks to everyone for listening to the episode. As we always say, if you want to get in touch with us, please reach out with a question, a comment. Tell us how your parents are doing. Just give us a how's your dad. Give us a how's your mom, how's your whoever you're taking care of. You can email us at caregivinggenxstyle@gmail.com. You can send us a text or a voicemail. Voicemails are best. 804-723-1221. We're on Twitter. We're not calling it that other thing. The handle is @GenXCaregiving. We're also on Facebook. The best way to do that is to go to the show notes and click on the link and you'll find us. We hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.
Good night, everyone.